In the beginning of the 4th century, the Roman Empire saw the wars of the Tetrarchy unfold within her borders as a series of men tried to become emperors. In 313 AD, only 2 of those pretenders are left, Constantine in the west and Licinius in the east. It would be within this world that the heresy of Arianism would emerge. Alexandria, 313 AD. A small vessel lands near the great Pharos, bringing news to the bustling Roman metropolis. The word quickly spreads between the people. As more and more citizens hear the news, a sense of hope takes over the city. It does not take long until a young Christian hears about it. He starts running and rushes outside of the city towards the wilderness, looking for a cave in a rock that he had visited before. Once he finds this small refuge, he goes inside. Surprisingly, the old man is still there. A monk, hidden from the pagan authorities, choosing the life of a hermit. It is Arius. The young man hastily delivers the news. Emperors Constantine and Licinius came to an agreement, the Edict of Milan. From now on, Christianity will be persecuted no more. Arius had been waiting patiently for this moment, and now it's time for action. The time to spread his word had come. The new edict made the faith even more popular than before, and huge masses gathered around the men of the faith to hear their preachings. Their questions were many, but one was heard more than the others. Who was Jesus? Was he a man or a god? He was a man like me and you, replied Arius. The masses soon flocked around him, and no wonder. He was known for his ascetic life and education, and his interpretation made sense to the common folk. Many men of the faith tried to contradict Arius' simplistic interpretation, but to no avail. The heresy had easily won over the hearts and souls of the common people, and its soon treacherous men would use the heretical beliefs in their own political advantage to take control over the empire and extinguish the true faith. The heresy spread in the empire like wildfire. It was not long until the Emperor Constantine caught news of it. Concerned for the faith and the people, he called for a grand council where all the bishops would gather to discuss the holy doctrine, the Council of Nicaea. When confronted with the wisdom of the men of the faith, Arius's lies could not stand. The heretic was further humiliated by a fervent Christian, Nicholas, who slapped Arius in the face, and the heretic was finally exiled. But the seed of evil was already planted. Even if the council confirmed the holy and indivisible Trinity, the minds of the people found refuge in the comfortable lies of Arius and clinged on to his interpretation under the guidance of corrupt politicians. Not long after, the death of Constantine proved to be the catalyst for the Arian takeover. A scheming politician, Eusebius, recalled Arius from exile and revoked the Nicene Council's decisions. To secure the future of the heresy, he even poisoned the new emperors, Constantine's sons, with the heresy. The Nicaean bishops that resisted were imprisoned and their teachings dismissed. The empire would thus lose touch with the kingdom of heaven. Instead, it would now be the mirroring of human greed and ambition, as men abandoned the true way of salvation as a path to achieve their political means. And so the empire plunged into spiritual darkness. In this heresy-infested world, Athens, once a metropolis of Greek civilization, was now diminished in size and importance. It nevertheless remained a famous city where men from all over the world would flock to study the wisdom of the ancient philosophers. It would be there that 2 young and bright men from the highlands of Cappadocia would meet, Vasilius and Gregorius. Both despised Arius's claims that the Messiah was just a man, as they knew that the true nature of God, the Holy Trinity, is something transcending human understanding. The two men found the true meaning of God and his message outside the politics of the era. All around them, petty men would discuss the nature of God himself, as if it were just one more subject, which the human mind would easily grasp, their discussions resembling more those of the tavern than the ones of devout Christians. Arius and his supporters were committing the highest form of blasphemy. In their vile interpretation, there was a time that God existed, but Christ did not, dividing the essence of what it was to be divine. It was through these lies that Christianity was in danger of descending into just one more polytheistic religion of the past, and thus the non-godly Christ could not save humanity from its sins. It was those vain interpretations that now spread into the cycles of the religious men controlled by the state. So Vasilius and Gregorius left the ancient city disheartened, but with a new mission: to get back to their native lands. There they urged to spread the truth and save the souls of their countrymen. But even greater, they now felt that it was their divine duty to rid the empire of the despicable heresy. Once Vasilius and Gregorius were back, they wasted no time. Vasilius, seeing the number of orphans, sick and elderly suffering, built a community where the most unfortunate ones would find shelter, the Vasiliad. Meanwhile, Gregorius sought for the influential religious men of the area to warn them of the heresy's vice that had taken over the empire's elite. Both men fought with actions of peace, compassion, and divine duty, bringing joy to the mountainous lands of Cappadocia. After years of hard work, Gregorius managed to secure the seat of the Archbishop of Caesarea for Vasilius, and the people rejoiced. But the deeds of the two men did not remain unnoticed by the capital. The heretical emperor ruling Constantinople, a man named Valens, soon caught news of the two Cappadocians and their efforts to restore the true faith and shake the Arian foundations upon which the empire now lay. Thus a detachment of imperial soldiers, under the orders of the heretical emperor, assembled. Leading the heretical force would be a man named Modestus, a staunch Arian who would do anything in his power to see the true faith destroyed. This man, known for his brutality and his efficiency, vowed to put an end to this insolence once and for all. Vasilius overlooked the plain in front of Caesarea's walls. The army of the heretics was approaching. Many were those within the city who swore to fight against the heretics to protect Vasilius. But the bishop was adamant. No lives would be lost for this vain struggle. To Modestus's surprise, Vasilius opened the gates to the troops. The soldiers, thirsty for plunder, expected to have their fair share of loot from the operation. But instead of the dark-raped cities they had encountered before, Caesarea seemed to be a land of the pious and the honorable. No beggars filled the streets, no orphans wandering around in the search for food and shelter. The citizens were more than willing to offer the soldiers a place to rest after their journey, as instructed by Vasilius. Modestus followed Vasilius to the town square in a deafening silence. He was hoping to break the bishop's spirit. Once all men and women of the city and the soldiers gathered around, Modestus set forth his demands. Vasilius of Caesarea, yet you have defied the will of the emperor for too long. You now either accept the teachings of Arius as the Emperor demands, or you will face exile in the furthest and most inhospitable edge of the Empire. I do not fear exile, as I am at home everywhere, for all the earth is the Lord's." He said. Modestus angrily replied, "You will then have all your belongings confiscated. You will die, poor and hungry." "I already have nothing but a few garments," he answered. Modestus's patience was running low. "Prepare then yourself to be tortured and executed." Basilius, in a calm voice and with a smile directly from his heart, replied, "I am ready to suffer for Christ." Furious, Modestus ordered the soldiers to arrest the bishop, but the men, awed by Vasilius' piety, stood still. They refused to harm this holy man, and it was with this humble act of defiance that Arianism was finally beaten, for Modestus returned to the capital without his promised prisoner. And it was not long until the furious emperor was himself struck by bad luck, dying in battle against the barbarians before he could enforce his revenge. And it was as by divine intervention that the man chosen to become the new emperor was himself a devout Christian, staunch enemy of the heretics, Theodosius the Great. And the new emperor, knowing about Vasilius's piety and holiness, organized a synod in Constantinople, where he invited the now famous bishop. But it was too late for Vasilius to attend, as having completed his life's purpose, this great man lay to eternal rest before the synod took place. He managed, though, to appoint a righteous successor, Gregorius, his lifelong friend. And so, the final blow to Arius's sinistrous doctrine was dealt in this great ecumenical synod in Constantinople in 381 AD, with Gregorius and Theodosius finally healing the world of the spiritual plague. Now, with the affairs of the faith settled, the empire was once more ready to confront the myriad of enemies waiting on her gates, ready to feast on her vulnerable body.